So we are in video 4 of research methodology and IPR. So we have already started with module 1 with video 1, 2 and 3 wherein we covered all the basic steps, the process of research, and in today's video, that is video 4, we are learning about research application in business decisions, the different criteria for good research and the problems which are encountered by researchers in India. So research application in business decisions. So what exactly you mean by that? How well you can apply the research outcome in making your organization decisions, right? So business conduct research for many reasons, such as gathering crucial information about consumers and business customers. The key function of management is to take decisions, and without help of the research and analysis of present situation and future forecasting, decisions may not be so much effective. So research helps to take right decisions with good data. Based on research, management can make intelligent and well-informed decisions. Right? Yes. And businesses use research to ascertain the success of their advertising. For instance, a dairy manufacturer may want to find out what percentage of people saw their latest TV commercial. A business can make well-informed decisions due to research. In the research process, the business will be able to acquire details about key business areas, analyze it, create a strategy, and distribute business information. Reports presented to the top management often contain details on consumer and employee preferences and all the available channels for sales, marketing, finance, and production as well. So the management makes use of these details to determine the best strategy which can be used. Next is regarding the staff. A correctly carried out research can uncover important details on their satisfaction quotient, the difficulties experienced by them, and how the problems related to relationships at the workplace could be handled. An analysis into the results would allow the management to bring about changes for the all-round effective functioning of the organization and its employees. The workers can be trained and coached in line with their needs. This would help personal as well as professional development, improving overall organizational performance. Yes, it also leads to individual performance and then an increase in organizational performance also. Again, research is important for managerial decision making. All strategic business areas are analyzed and evaluated. Then the techniques for more efficient procedures are created. Through proper research, the organization will be able to pick the most effective, productive, and profitable one. Research could possibly be applied to marketing, production, finance, IT, and human resources as well. So we have a big list of research design in business or in organization. So research can never question for various problems, from getting a grip on industry trends, identifying new products to produce and deliver it to the market, or deciding on which site to locate an outlet to better understand what it needs to fulfill customer demands. Research can also help evaluate if a product is accepted in the market. Research aids expansion into new markets as well. So it helps in testing the potential success of new products, and businesses have to understand what kinds of products consumers would like to buy before they market them. And the next being new knowledge. So what do you mean by that? New knowledge can also. So this new knowledge is the fascination and desire for new knowledge, new facts for business cycles, environmental analysis, and technological upgradation. They are the primary reasons of research. And also, research assists the company to find the right supplier at the right price and at the right time even. An appropriate supplier choice makes it possible for the company to obtain or acquire top quality raw materials which result into production of goods, quality items which are consumed by the end user. So this was about the business research design, or the usage of research design in business. So next is, let us move on to the criteria of good research. So what are the different criteria of a good research? So whatever may be the types of research works and studies, one thing that is important is that they all meet on the common ground of scientific method employed by them, right? One expects scientific research to satisfy the following criteria. So good research is systematic. So before going to this, we will just follow a few steps. The purpose of the research should be clearly defined and common concepts to be used. So what do you mean by that? You will have to define the purpose for what the research is being carried out, right? The research procedure used should be described in sufficient detail to permit another researcher to repeat the research for further advancement, keeping the continuity of what has already been attained. The procedural design of the research should be carefully planned to yield results that are as objective as possible. The researcher should report with complete frankness flaws in procedural design and estimate their effects upon the findings. The analysis of data should be sufficiently adequate to reveal its significance, and the methods of analysis used should be appropriate. The validity and reliability of the data should be checked carefully. Yes. Conclusions should be confined to those justified by the data of the research and limited to those for which the data provide an adequate basis. Greater confidence in research is warranted if the researcher is experienced, has a good reputation in research, and is a person of integrity. So in other words, we can state the qualities of a good research as under. Good research is systematic. It means that research is structured with specified steps to be taken in a specified sequence in accordance with the well-defined set of rules. Systematic characteristics of the research does not rule out creative thinking, but it certainly does reject the use of guessing and intuition in arriving at conclusions. Good research is logical. So what do you mean by that? This implies that research is guided by the rules of logical reasoning, and the logical process of induction and deduction are of great value in carrying out research. Induction is the process of reasoning from a part to the whole, whereas deduction is the process of reasoning from some premise to a conclusion which follows from that very premise. So in fact, logical reasoning makes research much more meaningful in the context of decision making. Good research is replicable. So what do you mean by that? This characteristic allows research results to be verified by replicating the study and thereby building a sound basis for decision. It is empirical. It implies that research is related basically to one or more aspects of a real-time situation and deals with concrete data that provides a basis for external validity to research results. Purpose is clearly defined. So what do you mean by that? The purpose of the business research, the problem involved, or the decision to be made should be clearly defined and sharply delineated in terms as ambiguous as possible. The statement of the decision problem should include its scope, its limitations, and the precise meanings of all words and terms significant to the research. Research process detail. The research procedures used should be described in sufficient detail to permit another researcher to repeat the research. Except when secrecy is imposed, research reports should reveal the sources of data and the means by which they were obtained. Next is research design to be thoroughly planned. What do you mean by that? The procedural design of the research should be carefully planned to yield results that are as objective as possible. A survey of opinions or recollections ought not to be used when more reliable evidence is available from documentary sources or by direct observation as such. High ethical standards are to be applied. Ethical issues in research reflect important moral concerns about the practice of responsible behavior in society. A research design that includes safeguards against causing mental or physical harm to participants and makes data integrity a first priority should be highly valued. Next is analysis adequate for decision makers' needs. Analysis of the data should be extensive enough to reveal its significance, what managers call insights. The methods of analysis used should be appropriate. Findings are presented unambiguously. Language that is restrained, clear, and precise, assertions that are carefully drawn and hedged with appropriate reservations, and an apparent effort to achieve maximum objectivity tend to leave a favorable impression of the researcher with the decision maker. Conclusions are justified. So, what do you mean by this? Conclusions should be limited to those for which the data provide an adequate basis. Good researchers always specify the conditions under which their conclusions seem to be valid, and limitations are frankly revealed. So, how do you reveal that? The researcher should report with complete frankness, flaws in procedural design, and estimate their effects on the findings. So, the next being ethical issues in business decision. So, what are those? Ethical decision making is based on one core character values like trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and good citizenship. So, ethical decisions generate ethical behaviors and provide a foundation for good business practices, which includes the following points: harassment and discrimination at the workplace or in the workplace. So, harassment and discrimination are arguably the largest ethical issues that impact business owners today. So, they have to make proper legal compliances for the same if it is been happening in their workplace. Ethics and accounting practices. Any organization must maintain accurate bookkeeping practices, cooking the books, and otherwise conducting unethical accounting practices is a serious concern for organizations, especially in public traded companies, especially when the organizations are at large. Whistleblowing or social media rants. The widespread nature of social media has made employees' conduct online a factor in their employment status. Health and safety. Another type of ethical issue that is often protected by law is health and safety. Companies may decide to cut corners to reduce cost or perform tasks faster, as well as injuries. Failing to take worker safety into account can lead to psychosocial risks, which can cause work-related stress in a later part. Abuse of leadership authority. Abuse of power often manifests as harassment or discrimination. However, those in a leadership role can also use their authority to pressure employees to skip over some aspects of proper procedure to save time, punish workers who are unable to meet unreasonable goals, or ask for inappropriate favors. This even now exists. Either it might be with male dominated work environment or both female and male work environment. So this was about the ethical concerns with the research. Now let us move to a case study. So a case study on customer satisfaction in a public sector bank. So what happens over here is, see, a bank is interested in knowing the level of satisfaction of its customers. So what it does, for this purpose, it decides to conduct a survey and designed a framework for conducting the same. It included the research objectives and the methodology for carrying out the survey. So coming to the problem being defined, what is the current level of customer satisfaction in a public sector bank and branch XYZ? So the research objectives being the studies being conducted to find out the satisfaction level of customers on the following counts: the work efficiency of the bank, the customer care service in the bank, the value added services which are provided by the bank. Population. All the customers of the public sector bank at branch XYZ. Sampling design. Sampling unit consists of the existing customers of the bank. Sample size is 200 respondents. Sampling techniques are systematic sampling technique, that is probability sampling. Probability, yeah. Wherein it is probable of that particular sample being selected, right? So after the sampling technique, next is the sources of data. So what are you going to include in sources of data? It might be secondary data on the meaning and methods of conducting customer satisfaction, which will be studied through books and earlier researches done on customer satisfaction. Information about the working of the bank, the value added services being provided and customer care facilities and its customers taken from the bank records. And primary data is also there, which is again collected by the direct questionnaire, which is through the existing customers or existing employees in the bank at present. So the next being problems encountered by researchers in India. Researchers in India, particularly those engaged in empirical research, are facing several problems. Some of them are the lack of a scientific training in the methodology of research, which is a great impediment for researchers in our country. There is paucity of competent researchers, wherein many researchers take a leap in the dark without knowing research methods. So most of the work which goes in the name of research is not methodologically sound. So as such, efforts should be made to provide short duration intensive courses for meeting this requirement. There is insufficient interaction between the university research departments on one side and business establishments, government departments and research institutions on the other side. A great deal of primary data of non-confidential nature remain untouched or untreated by the researchers for want of proper contacts. So efforts should be made to develop satisfactory liaison among all concerned for better and realistic researches. Most of the business units in our country do not have the confidence that the material supplied by them to researchers will not be misused, and as such they are often reluctant in supplying the needed information to researchers. Yes, the concept of secrecy seems to be sacrosanct to business organizations in the country, so much so that it proves an impermeable barrier to researchers. There is a need for generating the confidence that the information or data obtained from a business unit will not be misused. Research studies overlapping one another are undertaken quite often for want of adequate information. This results in duplication and fritters away resources. This problem can be solved by proper compilation and revision at regular intervals of a list of subjects on which and the places where the research is going on. Due attention to be given toward identification of research problem in various disciplines of applied science which are of immediate concern to the industries. There does not exist a code of conduct for researchers, and inter-university and interdepartmental rivalries are also quite common. Hence, there is need for developing a code of conduct for researchers which, if altered seriously or adhered to seriously, can win over this problem. Many researchers in our country also face the difficulty of adequate and timely secretarial assistance, including computeral assistance. Yes, because this is one of the basic reasons which causes unnecessary delay in the completion of research studies. Library management and functioning is not satisfactory at many places, and much of the time and energy of researchers are spent in tracing out the books or the journals or reports, etc., which is again helping them to not continue or finish their research on time. There is also a problem that many of our libraries are not able to get copies of old and new rules and published data. And one more difficult is timely availability of published data from various government agencies. Conceptualization problems still exist for the researchers, which also impacts on their quality of the study given by them. So we are done with the first 4 modules videos for module 1 of your research methodology and IPR. So in the next coming videos we'll be starting with module 2. So thank you guys.